Hi class. Today's lesson is on surface area, lesson 10-9. Our purpose for today is to find the surface area of prisms and pyramids. We have a couple vocabulary terms. So at this time, please turn to the back of your composition books. Our first term is surface area. Surface area is the sum of all areas of its surface. So here we have a rectangular prism, and what this figure indicates is that we have the top, front, left, bottom, back, right, all 6 surfaces. We find those areas and we add them together. We sum those areas together to give us the total amount of surface area. Our next vocabulary term is net. A net is a pattern made by laying out the surfaces of a three-dimensional figure. So we take this, which is the net, represents one of these figures. Well, which figure does it represent? Obviously, it has rectangular pieces here that are all congruent. So we look at the rectangular prism that has all congruent, 4 congruent surfaces, and it looks to be this one right here, figure 3. All these surfaces, the top, sides, and the bottom or the base are congruent. So this net is actually a representation of figure 3, this rectangular prism. Let's go ahead and take a look at some examples. If we're asked to take the volume, find the volume of a particular rectangular prism, which they've given us the dimensions for, we can use a net to find that volume. For example, we'll take the back edge and we'll label that A. Then we'll take one of the longer rectangular surfaces. We'll label that for right now D, and we'll call that the bottom surface. D is the bottom. Next to D, that surface, and connected to it is E. In other words, there's this bottom, and then there's E, this long, skinny surface right here. Then we have this other surface. We'll call that C. It looks to be congruent to E and connected to that bottom piece D. And then to make this whole thing complete, oops, let me get that right there. We've got this top part, and we'll call that top part B. Here we have 4 surfaces plus one of the ends. Finally, we need to talk about this front end, and we need to draw that in as well. So now we have all 6 surfaces, A, B, C, D, E, and F, representing this particular rectangular prism. Now we got to also make sure that we indicate the measurements of each of these. So now the only measurement that we don't have indicated here is the 21 inches. So all these shorter measurements, 5 inches on the end, the 11-inch width here, and then we have the 21-inch length or depth here. What do we do next? Well, now we find the area of each of these rectangles, each of the 6 rectangles. So I'm going to drag this over. We know that the area for rectangles length times width. So for rectangle A, and actually rectangle F as well, these are 2 of the 2 congruent ends of this rectangular prism. It's 5 by 11. 5 by 11. So we're going to go ahead and put 5 here times 11 is 55. And that goes for F as well, because that's a congruent polygon, a congruent end. Now we'll look at B. B is actually congruent to D as well. We've got this 11-inch side and this 21-inch side, so it's 11 by 21. And 11 times 21 gives us 231. Again, that works for D as well. So we have an 11 by 21 congruent rectangle. 231 is our answer. And finally, we take a look at C. These are the skinny sides of this prism, and it is 5 inches by 21 inches. Again, C and E are congruent, so 5 times 21, 5 times 21, and the areas for those are 105 each. Now that we've got the area of each of these rectangular pieces, surfaces of the prism, we simply add these all together, and I'm going to cheat here, and all these added together come out to be 782. Of course, we have to have a label. This is area, so this is inches squared, 782 inches squared. Next way of figuring out volume is simply by not drawing a net, but understanding what surfaces we're taking the area of. Here we're just using that three-dimensional drawing that you see. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the front of this, and I see that's an 8-inch by 6-inch in dimension. The sides, well, it's 4 by 8, and then the top and the bottom are actually 6 by 4. So I'm going to use those dimensions to figure out area. Of course, area equals length times width. So let's take a look at the front. And the front is 8 centimeters by 6 centimeters. So I'm going to write 8 times 6, which gives me 48. Now the front and the back are congruent, so I'm going to multiply that 48 times 2. And that'll give me the area of both the front and the back sides. 2 times 48 is 96. Then I'm going to take the top. I've got 6 inches here and 4 inches here. So length times width, that means 6 times 4 is 24. Well, the top is congruent to the bottom side, so I'm going to go ahead and multiply by 2 to get the total area of the top and the bottom. 24 times 2 is 48. Finally, I'm going to take the last two surfaces, and those are the sides. The dimension of the sides is 4 by 8. This is 8, and this is 4. So 4 times 8 is 32. Then we're going to double 32 because there are two sides, and that would give us 64. Now when we add these all together, they come out to a total surface area of 208 centimeters squared. Let's go to the third example. This time we've got a pyramid. We've got a square base, or it could be a rectangular base. In this case it's a square. It's a 6 by 6 foot square. And then all the sides are essentially triangles, 4 congruent triangles. So let's take the base first. The base is 6 by 6, so we'll put 6 times 6 because the area of a rectangle or a square is length times width. So 6 times 6 is 36. And then we'll go ahead and use a formula to find the area of a triangle, and that's area equals half base times height. So here we have a base of 6, a height of 5. Base of 6, height of 5. And then we also multiply that by 1/2. So 1/2 times 6 times 5 gives us 15. Now that is one of the triangular surfaces. There are 4 of them. So 4 times 15 gives us 60. So what is the sum of all those areas? Well, it's 96 feet squared. And that's the area, the surface area of that particular pyramid. So here's to complete the problem. I've given you a rectangular prism. It's a 4 by 4 by 8, and I haven't indicated what type of units they are. I've already given to you what the front side area is. It's 4 by 4, so 4 times 4 equals 16. There's a front and a back, so it's 16 times 2 equals 32. So I've taken care of these two surfaces. What I need you to do now is to find the areas of the sides and of the front, the top and the bottom. Plug those in. Then you'll add those total up to find what your surface area will be right there. All right, we'll see you in class.